Welcome to the State of Wisconsin High School Curling Championships from the Wausau Curling Club, one of the better in the nation. And it's been hosting the State Curling Championships basically since it opened. In our final game of this first day, a Friday-Saturday tournament, we will have Appleton West, or Appleton East, I should say, and Marshfield, and we will pick up action on the ice. It is already underway. And after the first end, believe it or not, Marshfield leads Appleton East 6-0. Appleton East is a co-op for the Fox City region, just like the Kimberly girls is a co-op. There are about 3-4 high schools that supply curlers for their team, but they are in the early stages of creation, and down 6-0 to Marshfield, that probably shows up here a little bit. But hopefully they can come back and we'll make a game of it. I'm George Hirsch, and going solo for this one after having some help in the early games. This is a 32-team tournament. 16 boys, 16 girls. The defending champions are listed in the program, and I'm going for that right now. Poinet, Partyville, Lodi, teams that you hear year in and year out for curling. They have handled the state tournaments a lot as well. Last year's winner in the girls was Poinet, as I mentioned, and the winner from for the boys was Wausau West. Jim Wendling, who's the coach and in charge basically of this tournament, does a great job. His son Wes was the skip for the winning team last year, along with Chris Kirsch, Jacob Hamann, and Carson Kirsch. So they have graduated a good share of those this year. Prior to last year, Poinet had won 2 straight, and West had won 1 before that. So in the last 4 years of this boys competition, Wausau West and Poinet have split, winning 2 each. Now, as you take a look down on the ice, on the rink that we are covering in this contest, they are having a timeout right now, it would appear. Each team gets 2 timeouts. One timeout is the coach. They can make that decision. The other timeout, the skip can call the timeout, but it has to be between ends. They can't do it in the middle of a competition on the ice itself. So you can see these 2 teams, unlike some of those that we've seen earlier today, they are kind of sort of uniforms. But again, curling has no dress code, like a golf or some fancy thing of that nature on that level, on the high school level. And also, curling is not governed under the WIAA rules or guidance. It is a function of the Wisconsin State Curling Association. So they are in charge of whatever happens here, and we've had a great crowd. I've been doing this for a few years now, and I would say we've had the largest crowd here today for the opening day of the 2023 championship. So Marshfield and Appleton East, Marshfield up 6-0 after one end. Now we'll take a look at the rosters, which are something you want to take a look at or know about. And we will have those on the screen later. For Appleton East, Will Stefanik is the lead. Mason Longsign is the second. Gavin Benz is the third, or vice, and Hudson Stefanik is the skip. Now that team one, Will Stefanik is a senior. There are two juniors, and then Hudson Stefanik is a sophomore as a skip, which is unusual to have a sophomore skip. For Marshfield, Antonio Keane, Cade Meyer, John Klump from first to third, they're all sophomores, and their skip is Trevor Meyer, and he is a junior. So, and we see this quite often. We have either first cousins or, in most cases, brothers who are on the team, because curling has turned into, in a lot of situations, a family sport. And so it's a tradition. You know, you might talk to some dads or moms of these curlers and find out that they were part of a state championship down the road somewhere. And that's just part of their families into curling. And this is a great facility, just a great facility. You couldn't ask for a better one, period. Stevens Point recently, through Century, has expanded and improved theirs, and now they have 4 sheets as opposed to what they had before. Here we have 8, and they're all involved all the way through to the championship. And then the championships are held on the 4 and 5, right in the middle of the rink, which is best for viewing. Well, the timeout is over, and here we go. We end at number 2. With Marshfield, Antonio Kuhn, the sophomore. This is the hammer for number 2, or the end. See what happens here. Well, they got 2. So now Marshfield has a 8-0 lead after 2 ends. This is not what we were hoping for. 8-0 after 2 ends. Now we will stay with this as long as it's not called off or they don't shake hands and it's over. We will stay with this competition, and then we'll make an effort to switch. If that's feasible, we will do so. All right, so Appleton East retains the hammer, so it's going to be Marshfield's Antonio Kuhn as the lead, and this is the skip, Trevor Meyer, who's the junior. Basically, they're ahead 8-0, so, you know, the biggest thing for them is to stay focused, because it can turn around. I mean, it does happen, but an 8-0 lead after 2 ends is, I would easily say, unusual. And that first rock out of play, behind the center line, out of the circle, the concentric circle, with the middle red, 4 feet, 8 feet red, white, and 12 feet blue, rounding out the description. And as you can see on the monitor on your screen, we have the camera photo from up above. So you can see you have a better sense of distances. Actually, especially, and that's why they have it above the ring, the circle. This one just went past the hog line. So it's in play. It is in play. And they're basically, the skip here is he's just calling to put it in the circle. Give them something to shoot for. In this instance, a lot of sweeping going on because they're trying to figure out where the ice is. The first couple ends usually is experimentation on the ice. And this was basically a takeout on a guard, so they took the guard out of there. Let's see what they choose now. This is the second rock for Appleton East. This is Madison Longsign with the toss. And again, he gets across the hog line, a little light. But it's, you know, if he wanted a guard, low guard, that would be a good spot for it. But again, training by that margin, you know, they need to score. They know it. They need to chip away. Now the Marshfield skip, Trevor Meyer. And this is Cade Meyer now with the release. Nice handshake release. The skip, for the most part, determines whether he wants them to sweep and how much, how strong. As you can see, once in a while they'll peek up to see the skip to see what he wants to do. This one will be in the house, and it'll be in the 4 foot. You've got the button, the 4, the 8, and the 12 in this concentric circle. Now Appleton East with their third shot, so this brings in their second. Mason Longsign. They're just watching it because they think it's doing what it's supposed to do. Trying to raise one of the other of their stones in the circle, and it does. So back to Marshfield. Okay. He's got his strategy set. And an in curl. And the release. You can see the sweep causes the rock to twirl more. Well, we're going to set up a tree here in the makings, what they call a Christmas tree. Back to Appleton East. Again, they have the hammer, so they have the response to every rock opportunity in the alternate playing. This one's much heavier than the last one that we saw, so they're not going to touch it. The way it looks, it maybe be too heavy and just run all the way through. And it does. Goes all the way to the backboard. Out of play. So we're halfway through. End 3. And Marshfield has 2 counts, but it's too early to really count on that. In fact, that second count is so close you might have to measure on that one, the way it looks right now. But there's the release. John Crumb is their vice or third. And they are able to sweep it into play and use it as a guard. And why not? Marshfield right now, strategy is to, keep Appleton East from scoring as much as it is for them to score with that big advantage. An unusually high advantage. Yeah, the release. By Gavin Benz. And he's got enough weight on this one. There's a raise into the circle. It's going behind the center line. Kind of splits the 8 and 12 foot circle. All right, quick instructions. Want to set something up off to the left as he looks at it. John Klump for the Tigers. This is a round robin tournament. You have 4 teams in 8. Well, another guard sitting out there. 16 boys teams, 16 girls teams, 4 brackets each. Marshfield and Appleton East. This is their second game. And the best team or competition, if they're tied, like say 2-1, it's the winner of their game. That's the nice part about a round robin. Takes care of any ties. Appleton East, Marshfield, Poynette, and Monona Grove in that foursome. Well, they're moving right along. Not taking a lot of time. There's no time limit for them to toss the rocks, but with that situation we're in right now, not a lot of time being used. A little desperation. This is Marshfield now, and you can see we've got a different skip. It's the vice, or third, who takes over that role when the skip sends the 2 rocks down. Each team using 8 rocks, 2 each, 4 players. This is Trevor Meyer. He's a junior, their skip. And he's going to, they're just basically guarding, guarding the circle, knowing Marshfield needs points. They're making it as difficult as they can. Appleton East needs points, I should say, and they have the hammer. So Marshfield, if they give up a couple, okay. That's okay. Not totally, but in the grand scheme of things, it certainly is. Appleton East setting up. They've got to get it in the circle. They need rocks. There we go. They're going to try and take out the top red rock. coming in that on that side. Well, it's not curling, so it's not going to reach. You know, the intent was to have it to curl off to its right as it moved down the ice, and it didn't happen. So now Marshfield has one more point on the center circle. So we go back to the skip for Appleton East, Hudson Stepanek. Hudson Stepanek is a sophomore. Unusual to have a sophomore with older members be the skip, but a lot of that has to do with their experience and skills. Every place has its separate skills. The lead has certain skills they need. Same thing with the second. So second is, you know, draws and that raises and that kind of thing. And each has a role in their foursome. This one, actually, basically it sets up another guard. Because that one that just set up now to guard, it doesn't really mean anything now. It is in the scoring position, yes, but it's not in play that way unless things change in the middle, in the button area. Okay, last shot for Marshfield, or Appleton. No, I'm sorry, for Appleton East. So this is it. This is the hammer shot. And it looks like if they don't do something, they'll give up another point. There's a nice release. Boy, he's going to have to do a lot of work to get back where they want it to be. It's not, well, it didn't do anything except I think Marshfield gets one more point. Okay, yellow gets one more, so now it's 9-zip after 3. Nine to nothing after 3 ends in this third game, fourth game of the day, the last game of the first day. Tomorrow they start out at 8 o'clock and then 10:30, and then that'll get through everybody's round robin, and then they start the playing for keeps with the winners at that point, finishing up with the championships. And we can take a look at that here in case you are watching and listening and might be interested in coming out and join us with a great crowd tomorrow, anticipated. Yeah, the semifinal, the girls and the boys, is at the same time. Lineup schedule. The teams are determined by a draw before the tournament takes place. And it's a draw, so that it's not seeded. So it really is the luck of the draw. And it can be very important for some teams who maybe have some dreams of winning the championship, and then they end up with teams that are better overall over the year. Usually that's more experience and confidence plays a role. Now we'll start N4. And obviously, Appleton East retains the hammer. They need more than that to get back in this one. As the first shot for Marshfield ends up in the 8-foot or close, well, maybe the 12. Call it as you, it's right on the line. You can see the skip just wants it in. He wants it in the button, not asking for much, huh? But that's where they need it. They got to get it over the hog line. They do, and that's about it. Yeah, that's a harmless rock for Appleton East. And as I mentioned in the outset here, that Appleton East, like Kimberly for the girls, is what you'd call a co-op. Just getting started, just developing. So, and I'm not sure that's the case here, but they're not unusual in that to have students from different schools. And they become really good friends because this is the kind of sport that friendships are developed very easily. Okay, we've got Marshfield now with 2 already in scoring spots. This is Stefanik. With his second shot. And they get one in there. That's the start. The skip for the team that's not tossing the rock at that time has to stand behind the circle and not interfere in any way, shape, or form. So you'll see them back there. Sometimes they will be standing directly behind the skip that's active on the circle just to learn something about maybe the curl or ice, because the ice is a big factor. And sometimes it takes 2-3 ends to figure out what the ice is, and it always changes, constantly changing because of all the play and the pebbles they apply, and a lot of factors involved in that. There's another factor, making sure the bottom of your rock is clean and ready to go. Okay. Stepping on the hack. Right-handed, you come off the left side of the hack. And a handshake release is the typical way they describe that. Well, it looks like they have enough weight to get it in the circle. They're sweeping, trying to get it into the 8-foot, but it settles in the 12. So now it's Marshfield's turn with Cade Meyer. 3 sophomores from Marshfield and a junior. And they have an alternate listed. Some teams do, some don't. Their alternate listed is Wyatt Borchest. Dorchest. There's plenty on there. That one's going to go all the way through the back end and out of play. far as Appleton East is concerned, they are the ones that have to make some changes in their game in order to get back in it or get in it. I shouldn't even say back in it. They were never in it. They were down 6-0 after the first end, and they're down 9-0 now after 3, and they're in the middle of number 4 end. Trying to get enough weight, keep it moving. Well, it's going to settle just outside the 12-foot. I'm not sure what role that would play because it's right behind another rock colored red, so okay, you could pretty much read on the strategy here, you know, what he would like to see happen. So let's follow up and we can analyze or not analyze, but figure out if they did what they wanted to do. Certainly a lot of weight. Yeah, well, they did. They sure did. That was a nice rock. John Plumb, Klumb for the Marshfield Tigers. They're not wasting time here. There's no time limit for the curlers, but they aren't wasting any time keeping this thing moving. Well, that one harmless. Again, you look at it. The yellow, Marshfield, has a 9-0 lead in end 4. And Appleton East is unable to get anything in the circle. They don't have anything right now. And here's the latest from John Plumb. The vice or third for Marshfield. And they are playing well. It goes all the way through, and look at that, a nice hold. Just a little bit of a movement there, but nothing. It actually helped put 2 in that circle. Again, Appleton East just trying to make something happen. Then one thing they have to do for sure, and that is to make sure it's fast enough, has enough weight to get into that circle, cause some damage. And in that case, it did. It took 1 out. So now Marshfield, when you look at it, they're up 1 on this end in points. We go to the skips next. Well, they're busy. Marshfield still meaning business, still focus with that big lead. He's just checking to see what. Oh, I made a decision. Apparently the skip need just a little more, and there you go. Nice guard. Making things very difficult for Appleton East. They've got 2 rocks left. The skips, or I should say the sweepers, cannot touch the rock when they're sweeping. And so there are occasions where you'll see them hop and or skip over a rock and just to avoid it, because what happens then is the rock is avoided, disqualified, not in play. Yeah, that freeze they had where the rock stopped next to the other one, very little motion. You could call that a freeze. Um, and then so far in this one, Marshfield has done a nice job on the draw, and that's basically doing what the skip wants you to do in terms of placement. And placement has a lot to do with weight and speed and sweeping involvement, spin, clockwise, counterclockwise, in, out. First rock for the skip for Appleton East, Hudson Stefanik. And they're just letting it do its thing, and it does a raise. It moves the rock they hit from outside the circle into the 8-foot. So it did what they wanted it to do in that respect. But when you're in a situation like Appleton East right now, there's so much more you need. And where's it going to come from? Trevor Myers last and 4. The typical game, 8 ends. Okay, and that's typical for this tournament. It's always 8 ends. And all that work on the last rock from Stanonik taken out by Meyer. So they get 2 more. Unless the hammer works miracles. Hudson's Stefanik. Curdlers, like golfers and baseball players and everybody else, when they get into it, like he's cleaning now, he probably does exactly the same thing every time he picks up a stone. That's part of that focus, rhythm, follow through idea that you see. Probably the most visible ones is tennis players. Your best tennis players will bounce the ball exactly the same number of times, bounce and everything, every time they're going to serve. And that's part of the focus aspect of being a good athlete. Well, they didn't hit enough, so that's it. It's over. The handshake after 11-0. What do you call that, a skunk? In some sports. I don't know if there is one in curling. But Marshfield here defeats Appleton East by a score of 11-0 with a handshake or the end of the match coming up after 4 ends. So until the next broadcast, we wish you join us again. We'll have some more coming up tomorrow, starting at 10:30. And until that time, I'm George Hirsch. Hope you enjoyed our commentary. And we have to apologize a little bit for the score, but that's one of those things that happens on occasion. So now we'll move to another sheet. Okay, we're going to move to sheet number 5, I believe. 3. We're going to sheet 3. Okay, let me look this up now. Okay, sheet 3. I'm getting there. They're on N4 right now. So this is Stevens Point and Kimberly. And they're in sheet N4. So we'll get the rosters here for you. We won't be able to put them on the screen, but I can pass them along as best I can. Stevens Point and Kimberly. Okay. A little more conversation in this one than the one we left moments ago. That was a shutout. Rare, but it happens. But I think looking back at that one, Appleton East is developing, and their biggest thing now is to just keep improving and keep kids involved, keep their students involved in it. Work their way through some of the disappointment. Obviously, they experienced here today. Well, the skip, you can see the difference. Going from that last competition to this now, here you've got, the red is basically taken over the right side, and the left is taken over by the yellow. And Kimberly is the red. And we had a Kimberly point prior, and Kimberly's Cammie Lee is a freshman, is their lead. See, that was the girls that we had. This is the boys now, so we got to switch our sheets here a little bit. Okay. Kimberly and Stevens Point. Okay. For Kimberly, Aiden Doyle is the lead. Brecken Olson is the second. Nathan Phillips is the third. And Lucas Ekrose is the skip. 3 seniors and a junior. Now, Spash in action on the ice right now. Chase Hipperman is the lead. Carson Yenter is the second. Matt Davis the third. And Joey Dobbs is the skip. And they have 3 juniors and a senior. And this is our second look at them in the tournament today. And they finish up. And if we can get a chance to look at the scoreboard, we can fill you in on, get you up to date on where we are with this game. And that was N4, I believe, that they just finished. There we go. N4. So far a shutout. So we start N5. With Spash ahead 3-0. $6-0. We'll have to take a look back at that. But Spash is going first, so that means Kimberly has the hammer. So Spash would be out in front. And Kimberly has the lead, so they're in the red. All right, now we got it figured out. Kimberly's in the red. And you can see the scoreboard. The red has the 3. 1 each. Actually, I think that should be a 6 and not a 3 for their score. I might be wrong. I know it's complicated. That one didn't get to the hog line. So I may be wrong, but I think it should be a 6-0 point right now. Kimberly's a red. You got the score on the top. Okay. That time the Spash did a nice job. They set up a guard. You could see a couple other players kind of fisting success. Kimberly's performing, sending it down the ice, and that's Brecken Olsen. You've got 3 seniors and a junior. You look at the rosters of the 16 boys teams, this roster is the most senior of all of them. I don't think without exception with their 3 seniors. So they've been together. So you would expect them to be pretty solid by now. And that shows up on the scoreboard. Spash trying to come back and get into it. Okay, setting up a high guard that time. They're just trying to get on the board right now. Okay. Now, with the 4, they put up 4 in that 4th end. We didn't have that score there because we weren't able to watch him. So that changes the complexion completely. And it's a good close game. Okay, Spash continuing with their 3rd, Matt Davis. No, we're back at the 2nd. I'm sorry. This is Carson Yenter. I would apologize if we are having a little difficulty switching from in the middle of a game from one rink to the other, just the technical end of it, and then we are unable to post as much information for you. So we're just trying to catch up and provide some more action rather than pulling out of a like a mismatch and then calling it a day. Well, that last one for Kimberly was out of play. Now we're going to the thirds. No, they're playing out of the circle for the most part, setting up guards. Or as you can see, it helps the team with a hammer to keep the middle open for the last shot because they've got that last opportunity. And what's happening here is the other team is Kimberly is trying to take that away from them. That's heavy enough. Yeah, yeah, out of play. So that Kimberly rock did nothing for them, and now it's back to Spash. This is the second rock here now for Davis. Matt Davis. Sweepers working hard. Right now it looks like they're as much working for distance as opposed to movement. Left or right, the curl. These teams are really moving along. They're not taking a lot of time for the skip to make a decision, or the players should get on by the hack and let her go. Like right now is a good example of that. For Kimberly, Nathan Phillips. And he makes things more interesting, that's for sure. With that hit. Take out. Changes the circle situation considerably. Well, Kimberly has the hammer because Spash put a 4 on the board in N4. And talking it over now for Spash. The skip, Joey Dobbs. Getting set. And the third, or vice, now that's taking the role of the skip. Pretty simple what he wants them to do. This has a lot more to do with knowing the ice and the speed that he can control. With the release. It looks like it's going to be in the 4. Yep. That's a nice shot. He did exactly what the skip wanted him to do. Nice performance. Now, his counterpart for Kimberly, Lucas Eckrose, with his first toss. Right now, Stevens Point really looks in great shape. After falling behind early, they have come back strong here in 4 and 5 ends. But this one's not over. But they've done a nice job of positioning in the circle. Make it more difficult for takeouts or raises or whatever they want the other team to be able to do. Well, they have one walk each. And Kimberly has a hammer, so Spash is talking about it. They will come to an agreement. Okay, there's the nod of the head. Yep, that's what I want you to do. Now keep in mind they're changing roles from the third to the skip, you know, on the play, on the tosses, the last couple of them. Okay, Joey Dobbs. His last rock, end 5. Well, just putting in another guard. Another one in the circle. They just scored 4 on the last end. They've got 4 sitting there right now. So Kimberly has, and Kimberly is a co-op too. I mean, and they have high school students on their they have a school that represents them, Kimberly, but they have students from other schools like an Appleton West or North, or you know, that would be a part of their squad. It's a developing sport in the Fox Valley. Curling is a developing sport in that area. And this is the last rock of N5. And the thing here is to get rid of as many yellow rocks as you can, and that's why they have that kind of weight involved. Well, let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, I would say. 3 more points for Spash. Okay, thank you. I see the change up there now. Instead of 1, 2, 3, it's 1, 1, 1, and that's where the 3 comes in. When it was 1, 2, 3, it was 6, but that was incorrect. So the change has been made, and to the benefit of Stevens Point, with that lead of 7-3, as we go into N6, it's paramount that they start getting back after basically getting 1 in the first 3 each. Okay, And this is what I'm talking about. I mean, they're not wasting any time. We went from N5, cleared the ice. We're in N6 in a matter of a minute. And the first shot for Stevens Point. Now with that nice 7-3 lead. Joey Dobbs is the skip. Chase Haferman is the lead. Now we go over to Kimberly. And Lucas Eckros is the skip. Aiden Doyle, the senior, is the lead. And they have the hammer. This is a big end for both teams, but especially for Kimberly because they're down 4 with 3 to go. 3 ends to go because it's an 8-end competition. And that one they didn't hit. They didn't get it to the hog line. Skips placement, the release by Haferman. Carson Yenter, Matt Davis on the brooms, working hard, trying to get some distance out of it. Not much of a curl. They're just trying to get it where it's going, and that is right in the button. Right there. That's about as close as you can get to the very middle tee. I haven't seen the tee being used for measurements today. And we haven't had a close game yet, so we've had other issues. Level of competition has been an issue today. Okay. Second shot for Kimberly. Aiden Doyle. Well, he's got enough weight on that. Nice takeout. Nice takeout. And he had enough weight on it so that when he hit the other rock, it stopped. So that's, and it's in the button. So that's about as good as you can get on a shot that you are trying to accomplish. Points Carson Yenter. Trying to do the same thing the way it looks. And it'll maybe hang on. Yeah, I guess, well, you can tell from up above. No, I would say no to that. It's not in the circle. So that was a takeout, but also he didn't have enough force in the impact to keep the stone like the Kimberly player did prior to him. So now we start over in the game in the center circle. That one they get across. Kimberly's had some problems since we picked this up of distance on, they've been struggling and sweeping like crazy to get across the hog line there, more than you would think. So they're having trouble with the ice and the speed of the ice yet. And that changes throughout the games. And this is our last competition today. And we started at 8 o'clock this morning. This is game 5. Well, Marshfield having the opposite problem. They tried to take a look at what Kimberly was doing and tried to adjust, get it in the circle, and theirs went long, out of play. So it's an issue right now. Okay, Kimberly. Brecker Olson, one of the three seniors on the rink of Lucas Eckros. Well, let's see. His is going to drop in the 8, I think. Oh, actually, it's in the 4. And Marshfield has one guard on that. So let's see what Marshfield decides to do. I mean, they have some options here. They can put something in a different spot in the circle. Or they can go after... But they'd have to have enough weight here. Well, they did it. The best of both worlds. They really did a nice job. They've got the point now, right in the middle. Now you look at the strategy. The strategy for Kimberly is the same as Marshfield. Let's see what happens. Just have another rock down there. Well, the ice, they're picking up speed as they go along, so the sweeping is really doing a nice job helping them out. Depends upon how much, well, now they got a little bit of a turn, so, interesting result on that one. They didn't want to put a guard in front of a button unless they have some other strategy down the road later on in this competition. So I think this toss by Marshfield will tell us a lot about where they want to go with this. This is the second. Did I say Marshfield? I think I did. We just finished up with them in the last game. The only excuse I have. Okay. Kimberly with the hammer. Nathan Phillips with the toss. Very definite signal for strategy. And we look at things from the other end. A little change up on cameras. Well, they took the Marshfield guard out of there. So they still have that 1 point in the button. At least that's the way it looks from up above, huh? On that screenshot. Spash with that 7-3 lead. Trying to spread it out here a little bit, make it more of an open challenge because they don't have the hammer. And the middle is clogged totally, which is okay with them. Typically, the team with the hammer wants to have an open middle. Here, they're just putting up a guard. And they did that. That's what they wanted to do. Did a nice job. Basically, they're saying if they want 1 point, okay. We're not going to give it to them. They'll have to earn it, but they've got 1 point. We would get the hammer. If they got that 1 point, we'd have the hammer for the 7th end. And with 2 ends to go, we'd still be in great shape. This is a key shot. This is the first shot for the skip for Kimberly. That's why it's taking them a while, because they have some options here. This is an unusual situation in the middle at this stage in the game. You know, they have the 1 point there now, but Point still has another rock to toss. You know, you wonder, there is no dress code, but a lot of these teams have uniforms that represent their school. But in Kimberly's case, it's a co-op, so they're different high schools. So these boys, they're not going to put on, you know, 4 Kimberly jackets or whatever. So they dress as they dress. And you can kind of understand that because they come from different high schools. They are individuals. Okay, now we're down to the last rock. Stevens Point, Joey Dobbs, junior skip. Matt Davis in the role of the skip. I think they want to do the same thing. We'll see. They're a little wider on this one. But I continue to think they want to not give up more than 1. They'll take 1. And that's the situation they're in right now. Nope, don't touch that rock. You disqualify that one they're sweeping for. Touch it with your foot or anything. Yeah, another guard. Another, I don't know if you'd call it a guard, but it's out there where it's going to be very, very difficult for Kimberly to score more than 1 point. Very difficult. And at this stage, up with 2 ends after this, they appear very, you know, we'll give it to you. We'll have the hammer. Because you like to have the hammer in the even numbered, especially, you know, 6 and 8, if you need it. There's certainly enough push here, weight. Interesting. All right. That's 2 points. Boy, that was a shot and a half. Okay, that changes the complexion of this competition considerably. Now it is 7-5 with 2 ends to go. Wow. Give the skip for Kimberly credit. I mean, that was, that was a great shot. Couldn't have done a better job with a better result. So it's 7-5 point over Kimberly. End number 7 coming up. And as before, they go right back at it. All 8 sheets are busy right now with competition, boys competition. Competition continues tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock with the girls. And then 10:30 the boys. And then the girls finish out the round robin. And we have the semis and the finals tomorrow afternoon. Spash does have the hammer because they gave up a couple of points there. They were outscored in N6. They do have the hammer, but they had a 4-point lead and now it's 2. So Kimberly's, on a comeback trail, at least to make it very, very interesting. Okay, we're looking back at that scoreboard, and it's correct now. It was correct to begin with. So I should never brought it up, I don't think. It is correct. If you have the score that we indicate there's out there, the scoreboard is correct. Well, that one's for Marshfield's going almost to the backstop. Out of play. Kimberly, just in the body language, looking at them now, as opposed to when they started N6, I mean, it's picked up. I mean, their enthusiasm and, their intenseness is really picked up with that 2 points in that last end. Because they know they're in it. They're definitely in it. Now the first shot for point for Carson Yenter, and they have the hammer. So we're going to have a really interesting finish to this one, I believe. These two teams are doing some really nice things. You can watch the feet of that one sweeper. They know where the rocks are. Skip over them, step over them, because they know they don't want to disqualify, especially a rock like that one that's going into the into the area where it can do some damage. Second shot for Brecken Olson, one of 3 seniors on this foursome rink. This one's going to go right through and out the other end, and now it's 2 of those now that have gone out of play back through the center line and all the way back out of play. So does that mean the ice is getting a little faster? It could be. Or it could be that they're making an adjustment in how much, weight they're putting on it. Push. This one is enough weight, too, to get into the circle. And now the sweep for the other team can at least get it out to the 12. So it's right there. But they can't, the sweep for the other team cannot go above the center line to do that. They have to hold back until, it's in the back line play. They want it to move. It's moving. Oh, they missed it. They missed it right through it, back through. Definitely that was a takeout, but it would not have been a takeout and a stop. It had too much going for it. Okay, we're already up to the 3rd here. Matt Davis for Smash. Stevens Point area senior high. Now a movement of a guard. Opens it up a little. They're okay with that because they have the hammer. Clear that out a little bit in front. Let's see if Kimberly continues this idea of putting guards out on top. Near top. Well, I think they got a little bit lucky, but they'll take it. Might have been part of their strategy. But now it opens it up for Spash. I don't think they want to do that. Totally different picture now to looking at. Well, they're working hard on the brooms. Okay. One of their options, I think they were able to accomplish. We're getting down there. 7th end. Now the skips are involved. And again, the hammer belongs to Stevens Point. Kimberly's Lucas Eckrose, their skip, a junior, setting up in the hack. Nice straight release. Well, they want to get that curl. You can see where they're doing the sweeping. That's where they want it to go. On the curl, they're going to get they get across the hog, and that's it. The hog line puts it in play, but I suppose you could call it a guard, a high guard. Okay. Lucas Eckros. This is Kimberly skip. Spash Joey Dobbs for Stevens Point. And since he's going to go down and toss the rock, he's letting his vice skip know what he wants, and there you are. He has to keep in mind that Kimberly has one more rock yet to toss. So, you know, what they do now is more a protection, maybe work toward a situation where they can score more rocks or at least assure themselves of at least one here. Because it's a new game if they can get a rock out of this. They're in pretty good shape going into number 8 end. Well, I don't know. that was interesting because now we've got one guard in the center. Okay. Kimberly has one. They're going to try to set up 2. They're going to split them so that Spash can't get rid of both of them. A good shot here by Kimberly makes this really a good finish for this end. It's a big, big shot and importance coming up. Well, they seem to be content if it gets by, and it does. Okay. I can see why Spash is talking strategy right now because their lead is 2. That's it. And if they want to pull away and going into end 8, they're going to have to come up with something here. Otherwise, they're going to be only up 1. They have an excellent opportunity to put a yellow rock in there. I mean, it's there. They've got a lot of options. So here we go with Joey Dobbs for Stevens Point. They're up by 2. Last rock. Looks like enough weight. Well, he's going to miss. So that's one for Spash, if I look at it right. I will apologize right now for the scoring situation when we switched over to this game from the prior game. That was a shutout. But we got it straightened. So we go to the last end of the last game of the first day of this Wisconsin State High School Curling Championships here from the Wausau Country Club. Hope you're enjoying the action that we've been able to bring you all day on Wausau Area Access Media. And we'll have some more tomorrow. 3 different games coming up tomorrow on our schedule starting at 10 o'clock. And there we are. A long day, but it's been a good day. John Wilkerson was on the screen because he helped me in the last couple of games. We had a young lady, Amelia Hintz, who helped me with the first game, and then John picked up the second and third. I'm going solo right now, and then, it makes it a little more of a challenge because there's a difference in curling between technology, or I should say terminology, and terminology is different than strategy. And I lean more toward the terminology part of it. And the athletes who are curling today, in one aspect or another, they lean more toward the strategy, which is probably the key to curling. So we appreciate you tuning in and hope you're enjoying our broadcast. Oh, I'm wrap up now. Okay, thank you. One of our technicians, engineers, Tim, is over here to tell me to wrap it up, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Hope you join me again tomorrow. Until next time, take care.